There are 30 teams in the NBA, and to be the best player on your team is very difficult. But to be the best player on your team of all time is a lot harder. Today we're going to be ranking the best player from every team of all time. Also, a rule that we're using for this video is that we're going to be judging the player on how well they played on that team. So without further ado, let's get into our ranking. Starting off our list at number 30 is the Memphis Grizzlies with Marc Gasol. While Pau Gasol seemed like the man to be the Grizzlies' greatest player early on in his career, it is his younger brother Marc who holds the title as the best player in Memphis history. Marc was acquired via a trade for his brother Pau and blossomed into a true defensive force. He managed to capture one Defensive Player of the Year award as a member of the Memphis Grizzlies and was a part of the grit and grind era that was the most successful run in franchise history. Marc later developed an amazing all-around game. He was 7 feet tall and was a really good three-point shooter and is easily one of the best passing centers in NBA history. Next up on our list at number 29 is the Charlotte Hornets with Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker played amazing 8 seasons with the Charlotte Hornets and has a slight edge over Larry Johnson for the best player in the Charlotte Hornets history. Even though he never won the first round in the playoffs, he's a franchise's all-time leading scorer, and he is a top 10 in almost every category. Now for number 28 is the Indiana Pacers with Reggie Miller. Now, a lot of people might be thinking that the greatest Pacers player ever might be Paul George, but since Reggie Miller is one of the most clutch players and one of the best three-point shooters of all time, I honestly think he's better than PG-13. And since that Reggie Miller led his team to the finals, which is something that Paul George has never done, I think that Reggie Miller is just a little better than my man Paul George. Well, there have been a lot of great players for the Suns, like Charles Barkley, Tom Chambers, and Amar'e Stoudemire, and many upcoming talent like Devin Booker. None of them have had the same individual success as Nash. He was one of the most creative and best passers of all time, a pure unselfish leader, and a winner of 2 straight MVPs. Nash was a beast on offense, controlling the pace of the game by finding an open man for shots every trip down the floor. He's also one of the greatest shooters of all time and a definite Hall of Famer. I personally think he's super underrated, but he definitely takes a spot as the best Suns player of all time. Many think that the best Clippers player of all time is Chris Paul, but the true best player for the Clippers of all time is from the Buffalo Braves, with Bob McAdoo, who won an MVP, and his career stats were a lot better than Chris Paul, so this one had to go to a really underrated player, Bob McAdoo. Now for number 25, which goes to the Pistons with Isaiah Thomas. No, not this Isaiah Thomas. This Isaiah Thomas, an extremely underrated player. A lot of people do say Isaiah Thomas was a very dirty player, but it was really just Dennis Rodman and Lambeer. No disrespect to Dennis Rodman, by the way. And he was always the toughest one on the court. Despite being much smaller than almost every single person on the court, he had a passion and fire for the game that we simply do not see in anyone nowadays. Thomas was the architect and leader for the Pistons team that won 2 NBA titles and is one of the most looked up to players of all time. Number 24 is the Orlando Magic with Dwight Howard. Many don't remember how dominant Dwight Howard was with Orlando. He was the best big man in the league by far and a top 5 player in the league during that time. He was also the best defensive player in the league, winning 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year awards in a row, and arguably the best dunker at the time too. Howard led the Magic to the NBA Finals and was always a consistent force in the middle. Even if his career turned out to be a bit disappointing, he's the best player ever for the franchise. This one could have gone to Shaq, but Dwight Howard had a more successful individual career on the Magic. The best Wizards player could have been John Wall or Wes Unseld, but since Alvin Hayes is one of the most talented players to ever play the power forward position and made history over the course of his NBA career, Hayes kind of takes a spot here. He finished his career with 4th all-time in rebounds and 5th in the number of games played. Plus, his impact on the floor was the stuff of legends as he played very aggressive defense and had an assortment of offensive moves, including a turnaround jump shot. Hayes will go down as the greatest player in Wizards history. Despite playing for the Pelicans for less than a decade, Davis is the best player in Pelicans history. He is a unique big man with the scales of a guard and dominated the court every time he played. Unfortunately, he did not last long as he was eventually traded to the Lakers per his request when he aims to climb the ranks there. Also, Anthony Davis is easily the most diverse player in NBA history. Next up on our list with number 21 is the Minnesota Timberwolves with Kevin Garnett. KG is the best player for the Wolves, and it is not very close at all. Garnett won an MVP during his time with the Wolves by putting up monster performances for them all season long. He was easily the best big man in the league by far. Starting off our next top 10 is going to be the New York Knicks with Patrick Ewing. There's no competition for Ewing except for Willis Reed, John Starks, and Melo, but since he averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist, this one goes to him. Also, he gave Jordan and the Bulls a hard time in the playoffs, so just because of that, he's a really good player. Next up on our list with number 19 is Julius Erving from the Philadelphia 76ers. Even though Allen Iverson deserves to be mentioned as the greatest Sixer ever, Erving just edges him out because he brought a very valuable NBA title to the franchise. Erving was always a high-flying dunker extraordinaire, but he left a solid impact on the floor thanks to his scoring and leadership. While Iverson had longevity on his side, it was Erving who managed to win it all. Number 18 is the Dallas Mavs with Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk is the greatest player in Mavericks history and the greatest taken that Mark Cuban ever had. Dirk was one of the first sharpshooting big men who were completely unstoppable when he had it going. Dirk possessed an unstoppable one-legged fadeaway shot that still gives defenders nightmares since he recently retired from basketball. Dirk consistently led the Mavs to 50-plus win records and managed to capture an NBA title for them by knocking off the powerhouse Miami Heat led by LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Number 17 is the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan. Without a doubt, Tim Duncan is the greatest Spur of all time. He was the best player on his team as soon as he joined the Spurs in his first season, uprising David Robinson immediately. Duncan soon became recognized as the greatest power forward of all time, at least in my opinion, and was always the best player for a team that was in the playoffs every single year. Duncan's 5 chips solidify his stance as the best Spur ever. Number 16 is the Denver Nuggets with Alex English. Alex English beats out Melo because he averaged 25 points during 11 seasons with the Nuggets and shooting over 50% from the field. English was a special talent and a very dominant offensive player who even managed to capture the NBA scoring title as a member of the Nuggets. Now, it could be Jokic in a couple of years, but as of right now, it's Alex English. There are some amazing players that have played for the Celtics, including the likes of Larry Bird and John Havlicek. But Bill Russell comes out on top as the very best thanks to his incredible 11 NBA titles as the most dominant defensive presence in Celtics history. Russell was a phenomenal leader, and winning 11 times out of 12 in the finals will most likely never be done again. Now for number 14 is the Atlanta Hawks with Bob Pettit. Pettit was the most established and most decorated player for the Milwaukee/St. Louis Hawks during his time. Pettit won a Rookie of the Year award and was the first recipient of the NBA MVP award. Pettit was also a very impactful player, averaging over 26 points and 16 rebounds per game. His dominance on the court and his groundbreaking achievements makes him the best player in Hawks history ahead of Dominique Wilkins. When we think of Utah, we think of Stockton and Malone. Their pick and roll was phenomenal, and they led their team to 2 NBA Finals appearances. They were never able to win a ring together, but Malone did manage to become the best player in Jazz history. He was the second leading point leader in NBA history and was one of the most dominant offensive players of all time. Clyde the Glide Drexler was one of the most popular players in NBA history. He is one of the originators of the high-flying style and jaw-dropping above-the-rim plays that have seemingly become the norm nowadays. Drexler was a special scorer and a very competitive player who made the Blazers one of the better teams in the conference when he played. His scoring ability and impact on the game, both on and off the floor, make him number one in Blazers history. Damian Lillard is an honorable mention, but he needs to play a little longer for him to contest Clyde Drexler's position. The Raptors have had some great players in their franchise, like Chris Bosh and Vince Carter, but since Kawhi Leonard brought a title to the franchise in only one season, I think he takes a spot as the franchise's greatest player of all time. Plus, he averaged 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists per game, and is one of the best defenders in NBA history. Next up is the Golden State Warriors with Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain is better than Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant and is one of the most dominant players in NBA history, especially because he averaged 30 points, 22 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. Now for the Oklahoma City Thunder with Kevin Durant. This one could have gone to Ray Allen in his prime, Russell Westbrook, or Gary Payton, but since KD won an MVP on the Thunder and averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, this one had to go to KD. Next up on our list at number 8 is the Brooklyn Nets with Dr. J. Dr. J averaged 29 points, and an honorable mention for the Nets would be Jason Kidd, but since Dr. J brought a title to the franchise, this one goes to Julius Erving. Coming in at number 7 is the Houston Rockets with Hakeem Olajuwon. The Rockets have had the luxury of some superstar players, including the likes of Moses Malone and James Harden, but Hakeem is easily the best of the bunch as a completely dominant center who is renowned for his all-time great footwork. When Jordan briefly retired, it was Hakeem that was the best player in the league, and he carried the Rockets to 2 straight NBA Finals wins. The Dream is still consulted for his amazing footwork and ability to score. Next up is the Sacramento Kings with Oscar Robertson. Mr. Triple-Double Oscar Robertson was the king of the triple-double statistic before it became so popular as it is now. He put up monster stats every single year and is recognized as one of the best to ever do it. Many swear that he is a top 10 player of all time since he did it all on the court and even won an NBA title before he ended his career. The Bucks have had some amazing talent, including Oscar Robertson and now Giannis Antetokounmpo, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the best player in their franchise. Abdul-Jabbar won an NBA title for Milwaukee and was often regarded as the best player in the league for the duration of his time there. Kareem had one of the most unstoppable moves ever in the sky hook shot and was a force on the defensive end as well. The Black Mamba Kobe Bryant takes this one over the likes of Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because of longevity. Kobe stayed with the Lakers for his entire career en route to winning 5 NBA titles and 2 Finals MVP awards. Bryant had 2 separate careers with the Lakers, a younger, more athletic number 8 Bryant and a more mature leader in number 24. Miami Heat was a hard one because it could have been Dwayne Wade, but we had to go with LeBron because he's the one who led the team to 2 back-to-back NBA titles. He won 2 MVPs and was easily the most dominant player in the league at the time. So the best player in Miami Heat history is LeBron James. LeBron James brought a title to Cleveland, so he easily takes a spot as the best player of all time. Oh, the Bulls one is so hard. Okay, it's freaking Michael Jordan. Come on. So that's it for this video, guys. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I'm sorry we haven't uploaded for about 2 weeks. We definitely will upload weekly now. And just, like and subscribe to get our channel going. Thank you.